little kid in the 80s was absolutely the reason why I'm such a horror movie fan. I started off very young with, of course, the classics, Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, all those great ones, Abbott and Costello versus the Wolfman, whatever happened to be coming on after the Kung Fu Theater, which came on after Saturday morning cartoons. So back in the day, you had that amazing lineup. Start off early with your giant bowl of cereal and your Saturday morning cartoons, move right into Kung Fu Theater, and then right after that, it was a monster movie, that was always something black and white or, really old. But that was what got me started. And then I'm a little bit older, like I think I'm barely 10 years old, and there was a new movie that had come out into the theaters called The Thing. And from what little bit I saw of the poster, I immediately snuck into the movie theater to go see this. And I have to say, this is the movie that scarred me for life, I guess, is the right way to put it, but it scarred me in the best possible way. I came out of the theater with a completely stunned and new concept of what horror movies could be. Um, Before this movie, every monster that you'd ever seen was always like obvious. Oh, there's the vampire. They may have superpowers and they may be hard to get away from and such, but you knew where the threat was coming from and you kind of understood the rules. Maybe not right at first, but as soon as you figure out what they are, you're like, oh, okay, I need daylight or, I need silver bullets, whatever the case may be. With the thing, this was a whole new level. For the first time, I discovered the idea that you may not know where the danger is coming from. You wouldn't even know if you were the monster. You could already be infected, and it's pretty much taken over your entire body, and you don't even know it until it feels threatened and it takes over. And that very concept freaked me out. I loved it, but it was so insanely different. The paranoia level that this movie created, the isolation that comes from that kind of paranoia, the uncertainty, and the beautiful idea that you don't even know what the monster is going to look like. Every time you saw it, it was different. It was absolute genetic chaos, and I was all for it. Now, unfortunately, this movie bombed in the theaters when it came out. It actually got John Carpenter kicked off of the next like 2 or 3 movies that he was set to do because it was considered at the time vastly over the top. Like it was too gross for anyone. Siskel and Ebert absolutely ragged on it. They said it was like, no moral person would watch it, something along those lines. But it came out the weekend after E.T., so people were kind of like in the mood for happy aliens, and this was so far away from that. And at the time, it was definitely the most special effects, gore, slime. Like it had more graphic content than any movie up to this point. So that combination of things made it bomb at the movie theaters. But of course, obviously, as you all know, it's a cult classic now, and they even teach in like movies as art style college courses. This movie is one of those ones that they use to represent it changed the industry. Like it completely created a whole new way to look at movies. And that's how I felt about it when I watched it. I came out of it now with this new awe-inspired concept that horror could come from anywhere, take any shape, be completely understandable. And that made it so much more interesting to me. And ever since then, any movie with a monster in it, I was always a sucker for that to begin with. But now, the more unrestrained and the more like ambiguous the monster is, the more I dig it. Anything similar to the thing, man, sign me up, give me a box of popcorn, I am in. If you've never seen the thing, who the hell are you and why are you watching this video? But definitely go see it. If you're a younger person and you've just seen the 2011 version, unfortunately, and I love that movie, I still do just because I'm such a fan of the thing, but unfortunately, they actually made that movie full on with practical effects and it was finished. And then the movie studio was just like, nope, cover all of those practical effects with CGI. because that was the hot and trendy thing, and they forced the studio to do it. So the version that you're seeing is not what it should have been, and it doesn't represent 80s movies the way that it was meant to. So you definitely want to, you know, go back and watch the original one from the 80s and see what practical effects can really do. Enjoy.